You can say categorically that you don't recall meeting Virginia Roberts, dining with her, dancing with her at Tramp, or going on to have sex with her in a bedroom in a house in Belgravia.
I can absolutely categorically tell you it never happened.
Prince Andrew has not been far from scandal for a number of years, but at the moment it has really kicked up a gear. That's a variety of factors that have all sort of combined to make this a really dramatic escalation in Andrew's ongoing scandals, which is, to begin with, the release of the posthumous memoir of Virginia Giuffre, formerly known as Roberts, who sadly died by suicide in April this year. And she's released her memoir, and it details a number of alleged sexual encounters she had with Prince Andrew. There are 3 in there. One that she alleges happened when she was just 17 years old.
It was disgusting. He wasn't mean or anything, but he got up and he said thanks and walked out. And I had just been abused by a member of a royal family. So when you talk about these chains, I wasn't chained to a sink, but these powerful people were my chains.
So that is one of the factors that's really driving the scandal at the moment. Second to that, there was a leaked email that came out, which was from Prince Andrew to Jeffrey Epstein, who is, of course, the convicted sex offender. Now, the important part of this is the date that it was sent, which, you may recall from that train wreck Newsnight interview that he gave with Emily Maitlis for the BBC back in 2019. In that, he said that the photo that was taken of him with Jeffrey Epstein in New York in late 2010 was as a result of him flying over there to end their friendship face to face, as he claimed it was the honourable thing to do. He also said that they had never spoken again after that.
And I went to see him, and I was doing a number of other things in New York at the time, and we had an opportunity to go for a walk in the park, and that was the conversation, coincidentally, that was photographed, which was when I said to him, I said, look, because of what has happened, I don't think it is appropriate that we should remain in contact.
Now, this email from Prince Andrew to Jeffrey Epstein, in it, the wording is things like, we're in this together. This is sent in February 2011, so just a number of weeks after he claimed they'd never spoken again. It said, we'll play some more soon. He said that he was concerned for his friend. So it indicates an intimate and close relationship still, and it also opens the door to the fact that we then don't know how much they've communicated for the years that followed. Jeffrey Epstein died in jail in 2019, so conceivably there is more communication to come. And for that reason, along with the book, which is obviously, it's a horrible read, there's a lot of harrowing details in there, but you combine all of this together and it's really snowballed. There are now other allegations have emerged, including that Prince Andrew, shortly after Virginia Giuffre went public with her claims about her time with Epstein as a sex traffic victim, it is claimed that Prince Andrew passed on her social security number and her date of birth, which, these are obviously personal details and no one has any idea how he would have access to those, that he gave them to his taxpayer-funded security guard, in suggesting that he should dig up dirt on Virginia. So this is obviously, again, brings into question some unlawful behaviour. These allegations are all being investigated at the moment. The Met Police says they are actively looking into these claims. So as I said, this is all just really snowballed. And when Prince Andrew released his own statement through Buckingham Palace saying that he was going to give up the use of his Duke of York title and other titles, that was obviously hoped by the palace and senior members of the royal family, including the king, that would stem the flow of bad and unflattering allegation around Prince Andrew, that it would stop the damage that was happening to the monarchy by association. But instead, there's been a real escalation as more leaked details and emails come forward. So what's next for him? That remains to be seen. It really has been getting worse and worse for the prince. I think that there have now been calls from British MPs to give the king the power and authority to actually remove the prince title. Whether that happens remains to be seen. For him to actually be stripped of his Duke of York title, because remember, he's released that statement saying he's voluntarily not using it. People want to see him actually stripped of it, though. Now, for that to happen, that's an act of parliament, which initially it was thought that the government would be very, very hesitant to take that on. The king wouldn't want that to happen because it will take a long time. It will tie up taxpayer-funded resources, etc. But given how things have now escalated, it's believed that that is something it's quite a possible next step. So these are the sorts of things that we're looking at happening now. There's also been more of a squeeze on his living arrangements. This has been an absolute pain point for years. It's been well documented that the king has attempted to get him evicted from the palatial 30-room Royal Lodge, which is on the Windsor estate. That's the Crown estate. So he has an ironclad lease, which will see him there for decades more. But what has emerged is that he hasn't paid rent on that for 20 years, and he doesn't want to leave. The king actually cut off his personal funding some time ago in the hopes that maybe he would not be able to afford, that this is what's understood is that he may not be able to afford the refurbishment costs that he needed to pay every year. But he's managed to do that, so he's managed to stay because he has this lease.
Given the revelations about Royal Lodge, does the Prime Minister agree that this House needs to properly scrutinise the Crown estate? So will the Prime Minister support a select committee inquiry so all those involved can be called for evidence, including the current occupant?
So there are a number of active lines of movement happening around Prince Andrew now. And the truth is that it's hard to know exactly where the dust will settle on it all. But the royal family must be seen to be distancing itself even further from Andrew and showing they have zero tolerance and support for the allegations that are against him. I do need to say at this point too that Prince Andrew has always vehemently denied all of the allegations of wrongdoing against him. He did pay a settlement to Virginia Giuffre back in 2022, but never admitted any wrongdoing. So that is a factor here, and it's part of the reason why he clearly has been so reluctant over the years to step back from his titles and initially from royal duties.
But don't try and trick me now, because I'm not going to play this game. Delete that bit. John, can you just delete it, please, that bit? Because I don't want to go down this.
Duchess, I'm asking very
I'm going to take 5 minutes.
I'm sorry?
No, nothing. I'm just going to take 5 minutes.
Along with Prince Andrew giving up the use of his Duke of York title, Sarah Ferguson at the same time lost the use of her Duchess of York title. Now, that's something she held on to despite the fact that they have actually been divorced for about 30 years, but they are very close. She's actually one of Prince Andrew's biggest supporters. They have an unusual living arrangement for exes, which is that she still lives in Royal Lodge with him, and they are very close. So she also has given up the use of her title. Ongoing, to be honest with you, her losing her title wasn't really the big hit for her. That actually came a few weeks back as she had her own leaked email scandal involving Jeffrey Epstein and her ties to him. Several charities that she'd been involved with for many, many years dropped her as a result of a leaked email which emerged. And again, that was dated a few weeks after she had publicly condemned Jeffrey Epstein, who had been convicted of these sex offences. She did that. She publicly condemned him. And then a couple of weeks later, this email, which has just been leaked, was sent between Sarah to Jeffrey Epstein, in which she called him a supreme friend. And it really was a grovelling apology for the comments that she'd made publicly. Obviously a terrible look. And as a result, she was dropped by several charities. Now, I do have to say as well, her spokesman at the time, a few weeks ago, said that she had received a very threatening phone call from Jeffrey Epstein at the time, which was the reason for that email. But that's just, either way, the fallout was swift and severe for Sarah Ferguson, and that has already happened. In terms of their two children, that's the interesting one. I say children, adult children. The princesses, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, they have largely come out of this unaffected, and the truth is they probably shouldn't pay for the sins of the father, of course. They are non-working royals, so there's no real awkward questions around their future with the monarchy there. They live largely as private citizens. They have a close relationship with a lot of members of their family, which hasn't changed over the years as the Prince Andrew scandals have sort of ebbed and flowed. And so in terms of that, I don't think there'll be any major change for them, although after Prince Andrew released his statement last Friday and as public pressure grew, they did pull out of going to a large glitzy A-list gala. So they'll probably be laying low for a little while, but in terms of their future, I do think that they will largely be unscathed, and that does feel like the fair outcome.
Your Royal Highness, can I ask your view on your brother's position, Prince Andrew?
Can we just introduce you, please?
How do you view it?
May I present as well?
Very nice to see you again.
Now, there's been no official statements from the King or from Prince William throughout all this, but there have been many quotes from sources that claim to be close to them over the last few years, but especially in the last few weeks in the British media. So it's been understood for some time that Prince William wants the hardest possible line taken on his uncle. There is no love lost there at all. It's also been said that he was instrumental in pushing for more action to be taken. I said that the Duke, I should say no longer the Duke of York, Prince Andrew voluntarily gave up the use of that title, but the truth truth is it was most likely just a case of jumping before being pushed. Clearly the situation was untenable. And also that decision came after a very tense meeting with the King and Prince William, who are said to be in agreement on it all. However, it's clear, and we also know from the mood music of Prince William's recent interview with Eugene Levy, where he talked about the change that he wanted for the monarchy, I believe that he will be having a zero tolerance, zero appearance, zero visibility with Prince Andrew approach when he becomes the monarch. It seems to be the most likely outcome. You can even just see the tension in their relationship very recently when they were at the Duchess of Kent's funeral and they were videoed on the stairs there, and Prince Andrew looks to be having trying to have a bit of a laugh with his nephew and saying something to him in conversation, and Prince William appears absolutely frosty. It's a very awkward exchange, and it really does seem to indicate sort of where that relationship's at. So it does feel like there'll be a more dramatic change afoot when Prince William does become the king.
Yeah, I think stuff to do with family overwhelms me quite a bit. You know, worry or stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit. But in terms of, you know, doing the job and things like that, I don't feel too overwhelmed by that. Not now anyway. When I was younger, yeah, there are bits that overwhelm you, a bit like, whoa, are we actually doing this? Is this sort of happening? But with time and age, I think you feel a bit more settled in that side of things, and you go, actually, I could do that.